Let's do this on a Friday. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Kidder and Kev Show. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio, the iHeartRadio app. We have Odyssey. We have TuneIn, wingam.com, and, of course, the old school way. Just, tune it to 1410 Wing AM on the dial. Justin Kinner with you here on a Friday. Kev Nash is busy doing other radio things. I always say he's off. He's never off, to be fair. He is just off being pulled in another direction. So it's just me holding down the fort. Now, when I say just me, that's a lie. It's not just me.
That's right.
Got a couple friends hanging out with me here today, and they're the ones doing the heavy lifting. We got Casey McAllister, who's, of course, doing his best right now to keep everything in line, like from the previous show, from off the bench. Everything good there? We're good?
Yeah,
we're good?
We're good.
All right. The producer of all producers right there. And then, of course, the comedian himself. C for comedian on his hoodie right there. We got Mr. Elliot Rearing.
Boom. Listen, I'm honored to be here again. I worked with you. What was that? Was that this week or last week when you came in?
It feels like it's every day.
Oh, my God. Was that Monday?
It was Monday. So it seemed like not that long ago,
That
but
is crazy. Are you sure that was Monday?
It was Monday.
Yeah.
2 times in 1 week.
What?
Good for you.
God, it's been a long week.
Good for you.
What a very, very long week. But we made it here. It's Friday. It's the best day of the week. If you had to rank, Justin, your best days of the week, I'm going to give you mine. I'll let you think about it real quick. Because I've got a sleeper pick for the best day of the week.
Really?
Thursday is the best day of the week. It's better than Friday. It's better than Sunday because of the anticipation that Thursday brings. You wake up on a Thursday, you're like, I can see Friday. I can see Saturday. We have 4 days of greatness ahead of us. Thursday's the best day. Then Saturday's the second best day. Then Friday's the third best day. I'd argue, now hear me out on this one. This is going to be tough. Wednesday is the fourth best day. Then Sunday is fifth. Monday is sixth. And Tuesday is, without a doubt, the worst day of the week.
You take the Lord's Day and you rank it 5th or 6th?
That's right, 5th.
Man.
Or 4th. I think it's 4th. I think 4th.
Either way, but the Lord's Day is not number 1 on your list. Now, I'm saying that as a guy that I don't know the last time I went to church where it wasn't Christmas or Easter. Now, I'm not judging those who do. I'm just saying I haven't been to church in a while, but I would at least rank Sunday a little higher. Sundays I dread, though, because you got to go back to work week. From a work perspective, I love Tuesdays. Because Monday I'm dragging a little bit, but Tuesday feels like that refresher day. Tuesday, my best day of the week as far as like my production goes, Tuesday, right at the top of the list. And then Wednesday it sucks because it's Wednesday. Thursday you get that little peak, and then Friday you think you would work harder, but you're distracted about what you're about to do that weekend. Because as a 34-year-old, there's a lot of clubbing, going to parties. A lot of stuff going on as a married 34-year-old.
You look like a guy who spends a lot of his nights in a club.
McLovin. Dude.
I can see. Yes. I can see. I can see you. I can see. You ever go to? You live in? What? Do you live in Dayton?
Kettering, Ohio.
Kettering, Ohio. I don't know where. I'm not going to pretend to know where that is. But how far away are you to Hollywood Casino in Lawrenceburg, Indiana?
Hollywood Casino in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I'm not really sure. I have to pump.
You have to pump it in. So you've never. I imagine you've never been. So they've got a place there. It's called Boogie Nights. It's a little club they've got down in the cellar of this casino, and it's the best place in the world.
So hold on, you frequent Boogie Nights?
That's right.
You're a Boogie Nights aficionado. Huh?
I am.
Elliot Rearing, everybody. You learn something new.
That's right.
Every single day.
I am the king of Boogie. I am the king of Boogie.
He gets down.
I do get down. A lot of people don't get down. Not enough on this show. But I'll tell you what, enough people get down there.
So if us three stood in a lineup and people had to guess who's the best dancer, who's the best dancer? I'm assuming it's our guy Boogie Nights over here.
No, I don't think so. I think it might be Reed.
Reed,
Reed. So Reed's got to move. I don't know if you've seen it, Justin. It's called the flop. Now, it's like the worm, but instead of the worm, where it's a little smooth motion, it's just a flop. So he just flops on the floor like a fish.
Trying to do the worm.
That's correct.
Right. Correct.
Trying is key. Trying is key. And trying is what I'm trying to do. A sports talk show here today, and we got a lot to dive into because we're going to talk about Elly de la Cruz. We're going to, I've had people kind of reach out and bring up the fact that, Elly de la Cruz is already the face of the Cincinnati Reds. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. Fantastic performance. I was able to catch a bit of your show earlier. You were able to talk about Elly de la Cruz earlier on. So we're going to talk about that. Bobby Carpenter, former Ohio State Buckeye, played in the NFL, of course, part of 97-1 The Fans lineup over in Columbus. He does mornings. I don't know. Could you guys do a morning show? Elliot, back in your day, you were a 15-year radio vet. Did you do radio in the mornings?
What time?
I mean, he's on from 6 to 9
No,
every
I don't
day.
got it in me. I had to work, and again, thank you for recognizing
You're
that I worked
15
in
years.
radio because not a lot of people remember it. I did work in radio, and I'm not kidding you. Every Saturday morning for over a year, I had to wake up at 3:30. 3:30 in the morning, you have to get up. You have to, because I live 30 minutes from the station. I have to drive. I have to, shower, get ready, drive 30 minutes to the station. I like to get in my seat with about, 15, 20 minutes before my shift, get all my clips, get all the guests organized for my host, and I'd be ready to roll by 5 a.m. every day. I'd also have to do that for the 55 KRC morning show. I'm not a political guy, but that's a more political show, and that one's really bad, and that's no knock on our guy Brian Thomas. Shout out to Brian Thomas. But getting up at 3:30 in the morning for a show that you really don't like, and it is, and again, that's just it's just my personal, I'm not a political guy. I couldn't give a damn about anything political that he talks about during that show. So getting up and trying to stay awake, it's horrible. And not to mention, our lives are centered around sports. You don't get to watch sports if you work that early. You don't get to. That's a fact. I don't know how they do it. Maybe it's easier on the West Coast, I guess.
I don't know.
Or is it no? Because they'd have to wake up even earlier, right? I don't understand.
What's 3 hours? 3 hour time difference. So if you're doing a 6 a.m. show over there,
that'd be 3 a.m.
That would be 3 a.m. Oh no, there's no way.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how it works. But either way, to answer your question, no, I don't think I could function that early. Could you?
Yes, I'm a morning person.
Really?
By 3 o'clock, I'm exhausted. And it's not like we have a physically straining job by any means, but I'm just mentally exhausted for whatever reason. I would be the best morning show host in the world. I would be. I mean, I'd have my coffee every morning, and I'd be ready to rock it every morning. Especially if I could do 6 to 9, 6 to 9, 6 to 10, ideal. As far as that goes. So, all right, we're going to have Bobby Carpenter coming up again from the morning show, 97.1 The Fan over in Columbus. Morning Juice, played for the Dallas Cowboys, played in the NFL for a bit, former Ohio State Buckeye. Excited to chat with him, and that'll be coming up here just under a half hour from now. Okay, I want to get your guys' take on this before we step away, because what's my time like? I mean, that was a very long open. It was a Friday open. It was a Friday open is what it was.
I'll tell you what, that's the hardest part of this job. You have to try to maintain some semblance of time, and there's no way to do it. We have 7 minutes left in this opening segment.
7 minutes left.
So we're good.
I could do my best work in 7 minutes. So there you go. Let's see. They want us to talk politics. We should do politics.
No, we should not.
We should do politics. We throw out just different things. We give our opinion on it, and everyone has to guess Republican or Democrat. That will go over very well because everyone agrees on politics. It brings everyone together. It's like Joey Votto. I mean, it unifies everybody like it unified me and my guy Elliot over here.
That's right. Your hatred for Joey lights a fire in me that nobody's ever really seen. That's a fact. That's a fact. All
right. Well, let's kick off the sports conversation here real quick, because Elly De La Cruz, a fantastic performance last night. Obviously had a lot of at the plate, had quite a few hits, but it was the 4 steals. And Elly is a different kind of cat because we've seen stars in baseball. Like I think that baseball is a much different sport than any other because of the fact that there are players who are really, really good, but they don't necessarily move the needle, right? Like in the NBA, if you're really, really good, you're going to get the attention. You're going to get that individualized praise. You're going to get propped up, and you're going to become a star in the NBA. I can't think of too many players in the NBA that are really, really good that aren't stars, or at least guys that move the needle. The NFL, some guys get lost in the shuffle a bit, but if you're a good quarterback, you're going to be a star. There's no way around it. Wide receiver, same thing. Running back, no doubt about it. With baseball, not every player that has great stats is a star. And it becomes very tricky in how you market that sport and how you position it. Because I look at a guy like Elly De La Cruz, and the guy just sells himself. The guy just has that it factor. He has that look to him. When you tune into the Cincinnati Reds, if you've never watched the Reds before, and you just watch one game, let's say last night, somebody who's not very familiar with baseball watched that Reds and Dodgers game. I promise you this much, they knew damn well who the best player on the Cincinnati Reds was, or at least the star player was for the Cincinnati Reds by the end of that game. Elly De La Cruz just stands out. Because a lot of times in baseball, you'll get guys that don't hit real well, but will have a 2-hit night, and they'll bring in a couple RBIs, and you think that's a really good player, but they've just had a really good night. Elly checks off every box you could think of. And I hear this a lot, that baseball does a horrible job of marketing their stars. And the question I have for those in the chat, and for Elliot and Casey too, when I bring you guys back in, is what does that mean? When people say that baseball needs to do a better job of marketing its stars, what does that mean? Because I've always been a little confused by that, because I hear people say, well, they need, look at the NBA, all their stars are in TV commercials. Look at the NFL, their stars are in TV commercials. But the thing about it is, it's not like Steph Curry was some bum who nobody knew who he was. They put him in a Subway commercial, and now everybody loves Steph Curry. No, Steph Curry was a star. That's why he was in the Subway commercial. It wasn't he was a bum and became a star because of the Subway commercial. I think that was the problem. I've said for the longest time that baseball's biggest problem for about 12 to 15 years is that there haven't been marketable stars. It's not that baseball, and I'm not saying baseball is perfect because they are their own worst enemy. I don't think baseball does their league any justice by any means, but at the same time, baseball was really boring for a little bit. There was really, really good players. You could find a lot of players. You turn their baseball card around and find a lot of players that had really good stats, but they didn't move the needle. I mean, I grew up during a time that you had your Randy Johnsons and your Roger Clemens and your Sammy Sosas and your Mark McGuires and your Gary Sheffields even. I mean, I remember as a kid in Little League, I couldn't play worth the damn, but I was at least going to try and look cool doing it. And I loved that Gary Sheffield, just kind of the waving of the bat. Like, I loved that. There were just marketable stars that players and that fans connected with. And there was a good stretch where that was not necessarily the case. Now, you look at a guy like Mike Trout. Mike Trout, obviously statistically one of the best baseball players ever. But is that a guy that moves the needle from a superstar standpoint? He moves the needle from a star standpoint as far as the stats and as far as the production goes. Obviously, I know last time I was in the studio, we talked about, the fact that the Angels during his stretch with the organization, only 4 winning seasons. 4 in 14. He's been with that organization for 14 years. They've only had 4 winning seasons. In 14 years with the Angels, they've only had 1 playoff appearance. Like, that is absolutely insane to me that has been the case, especially for an organization that's in the West Coast, that's based in LA now, and they can't seem to figure it out. I mean, the Clippers have been a more successful NBA team than the Angels have been a Major League Baseball franchise as far as that's concerned. But doesn't move the needle. Now you're starting to, when you tune into baseball, and a lot of these are, players that are coming from outside of the country as well. When you look at Elly Cruz and you look at Shohei Ohtani, now all of a sudden baseball has taken off in popularity again. Last year we saw the increase in ticket sales. We saw the increase in ratings. Baseball is cool again, is fun again, and you're starting to see a different trend in how people talk and take in baseball, of course. Baseball is still its own worst enemy. The blackout rules, of course. I mean, it's so tough to be able to take in the content throughout the league, but there are stars that are now worthy enough that we're going to take our time to go sort through the weeds to find them. Elly Cruz for the Cincinnati Reds, that guy checks off a lot of boxes. Now, if the camera pans over to Elliot, I'm really curious what the facial expression is going to be here. Let's use the last face of the Cincinnati Reds and Joey Votto. And I do love Joey Votto. I'm not hating on Joey Votto. But with Joey Votto on a bad Reds team, if the Cincinnati Reds are on the road, is Joey Votto at his peak, was he a big enough star that a casual baseball fan is going to say, I got to stop what I'm doing to go watch Joey Votto?
No.
I don't think so. No. And that's not a shot at Joey Votto, but that's your typical star baseball player over the last 10 years, unfortunately. Yeah. That's just like really good guy that's, the fans love him because we know Joey Votto, right? But on the road, I'm not stopping what I'm doing to go watch Joey Votto. That's not a shot. That's just kind of the reality, right?
We talked about that a little bit earlier, and I said the same thing because Joey Votto, as good as he was for us, we all know what he means to us as fans, as a city, as a collective group. He was not that to the outside world. That's why there's still questions on whether or not he's a Hall of Famer, because I think a lot of people on the outside didn't get to have the Joey Votto experience until, ironically, the very thing that you hate about him when he's made himself more marketable, the thing you hate about him is when he made himself more marketable, put him on social media, started doing funnier interviews. He'd wear the dress up for the baseball show on MLB Network that it's gonna kill me that I don't know the name of that baseball show on MLB Network. Whoever it's with Kevin, whatever Pillar or I don't know.
Letting you drown. I'm so sorry.
You're just not a baseball guy. That's fine. Whenever he dressed up as the Mountie on that baseball show on MLB Network, he did funny things that kind of made you aware of him, but you'd never be like, all right, Sunday Night Baseball, Joey Votto's playing. Probably not. I'll miss that one. That's a 100% fact. It's not like Elly Cruz. It's not like Mike Trout. It's not Shohei Ohtani. He's a very good Hall of Fame baseball player.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. But he does not pique the interest of Casey McAllister. He does not pique the interest of the casual fan that's like, should I watch the Reds tonight? Who they got playing? Oh, it's Ramon Hernandez, Zach Cozart, and Joey Votto. We just got nothing.
And on top of that, too, and the Reds didn't do Joey Votto any favors as well. I mean, obviously they had that stretch where they're going to the playoffs for 4 or 5 straight years in the early 2010s, and then obviously they went on back-to-back rebuilds. Yeah. And keep in mind, too, before we take this pause in the action, that a lot of times when you think of some of the best players in Reds history, you think, you have a team, you have a dynasty that has a nickname in the Big Red Machine. When you have superstar players that are also associated with the time and stretch of winning, that's going to magnify their star power as far as that's concerned. You associate them with a winning stretch in history. Unfortunately for Joey Votto, he will not be tied into anything like that. Although, look, they did make the playoffs. Look, that's how Dusty Baker lost his job. It wasn't that they couldn't get to the playoffs. It's that they couldn't win once they got there as far as that's concerned. But we'll pick up with this conversation when we come back, because what's that key radio term where you come back, you do a quick old segment because you gotta make up some time for a longer segment coming up. What's the old term?
That is wait, hold on.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
15 years in radio, this guy.
Is
it different in political radio, huh?
Hold on. See, now this is where working 2 back-to-back shows.
I'm so sorry.
It's gotten in my brain.
Oh, hold up. Nate in the chat has you. Nate in the chat.
Touch and go. So, Nate, that's my term. That's my term.
I can't believe you forgot that.
Well, it was just my brain's on 4 different levels of tired right now. So that's my bad. I should have known touch and go. That's what we'll do. That you get back to it. That's my bad. Hand up.
So we got to touch and go when we come back, but we'll pick up with this conversation. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing. Again, it's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We got Bobby Carpenter coming up around the corner as well. We got a jam-packed show. We'll be right back. And we are back. And I forgot to mention this to start the show today. So Trace is out, huh?
Trace is out.
You guys fired him.
I think he fired himself from the show.
Is that how that works?
I think that's what happened. Yeah, I think he knew they had a game last night, 10-10 start time, and there was just no chance.
And luckily they're getting most of these West Coast games out of the way. But Trace out as host of Off the Bench, but Off the Bench not going anywhere. Tom and Trace, you guys go through hosts like the Browns do quarterbacks.
Yeah.
My gosh, this is a dangerous seat.
No.
Except, hold up, time out, because that sounded like a shot at Tom and Trace, and that was not the case at all, because those two are actually talented, unlike the Browns quarterbacks.
Yeah, our guys have a little less problems than your guys. But listen, and that means problem with the law, obviously.
What is this, Scotty Scheffler? Are we into that conversation now?
Can you believe that?
That was I woke up to that today, and I'm like, what in the world is happening? But golf street cred just went through the roof.
I thought it was one of those fake golf accounts that you see, because there's a PGA Tour account that's spelled TUOR, and they post only fake golf things that I always think are real. I thought it was that. I thought Scotty Scheffler's mugshot was fake this morning. I'm like, who's doing this? This is a silly little bit. No. They have a video of him getting dragged away in handcuffs. I was debating Casey, and maybe you're a little older than me. Shout out to you for being born first. I can't remember a story like this in sports in my lifetime. Not like this, where the best player of their sport was unable to perform in their sport because an hour before tee-off, the tee time, they get arrested. I'm trying to think of one, and I can't think of any.
This would be, again, he's the number 1 golfer in the country, so keep that in mind. So when you have that would be like, I always use LeBron as but that's a very recognizable name. But Nikola Jokic, the best player in the NBA right now. Imagine showing up to an NBA Finals game. And Jokic, there's a misunderstanding as he's trying to pull into the players-only parking lot, and he gets arrested before. Or LeBron James gets arrested before. Or, that would be the equivalent to that, all right? Joe Burrow, okay? He gets arrested before arriving to Paycor Stadium. And, that's just, top-of-the-page news right there. This is the equivalent to that. And I just starting to wrap my head around the significance of that because, again, and forget the fact, it could have been just an average golfer. Any golfer that's arrested before this, and obviously you don't want to make light of a situation that really stemmed and got out of hand because there was an unfortunate fatality. Imagine even from that perspective, you wake up, you're going to go to an event or you're going to go to a game and that's how you go. The horrific fact about all of this is that's really kind of what led to the increased security and police presence on hand. But what a wild story, no doubt. It's been a while since we've had a crazy incident in sports that really has everyone buzzed and talking right now, and that's one of them. But it's even better because he did the mugshot. He's back out there. All right, he's on the course. I mean, he walked out many men from 50 Cent. That was his walk. Unless I got by that NFL PGA Tour.
You might have gotten got. I don't know.
But, either way.
I don't know, but it's absolutely. He got charged with 4 crimes. Did you see the charge list?
I was listening to you guys on the way in. I didn't realize the charge list was that long.
It was incredible. They're putting this guy away for life for just trying to make his tee time. And again, from the only video that we had of it, from that one video of them putting him away, it didn't look like he was doing anything that warranted those charges. We couldn't see the initial incident where he drove away past the cop, but I think we got everything after that. It's just crazy to me. The lack of awareness that police officer very clearly had, and again, no fault of his own. He's dealing with somebody who had unfortunately passed away right in front of him. But there's a golf tournament within a minute of you, and this guy has to get to the event.
And the cop that arrested him didn't even know who it was.
No.
Didn't even know who he was.
Well, that's Scott. Listen, I love golf. I don't know if you're a golf guy. Based on your score, you're not. But
damn,
Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler, I will say, not the most well-known face in America. To be fair to the cop, I don't think I would know who Scotty Scheffler was in the morning hour while I'm trying to deal with a serious issue on the streets.
The stray, really?
What stray was that?
Right off the bat?
What stray was that?
Based on the golf score? I mean, come on. You should have seen me play basketball. I'm the biggest basketball fan in the world. You should have seen me. I mean, a lot of people would have loved to have seen me play basketball, but my fat ass was on the bench.
I want to play you in golf badly because there's a chance you're better than me, and when that happens, then I'll have to shut up forever about it.
Okay, but if you're not that good at golf and I'm not that good at golf and I am better than you at golf, that would be like I'm 5'7", and if someone next to me is 5'5", and I'm bragging about being taller than that person, now doesn't make me tall. It just means I'm taller than the shorter person next to me.
Listen, as short people, we take any win we can get.
Exactly.
So if I'm taller than somebody, if I find the rare person that I'm taller than, you're going to hear it.
When we do the show out on locations, the one thing I get all the time is, you're shorter than I thought. I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but nonetheless,
you have a height for radio.
That's exactly what it is. No, I'm not very tall, but nonetheless. But yes, that is one of the wilder stories, no doubt about that. But I've always said this too. The ratings for that is going to be through the roof now. Like, 100%. I don't know if you guys know. So I've had, with the Dayton Funny Bone in town, we'll get a lot of comedians that come in. We've had, big names that have come into the studio. But, when you talk to different guys, like Steve-O from Jackass, I remember talking with him one time. He said the first time that he went out on tour, he does stand-up comedy, which he just shares stories from the time doing the show. I mean, he would tell me about how some comedians would get arrested on purpose going into a city, because then that comedian would hit the local papers and be, hey, this comedian got arrested. And hey, but he's going to be performing this weekend. He made bail. Come see me. I'll be live at the blah, blah, blah Funny Bone. But yeah, so this isn't a bad thing for golf. Their street cred went through the roof. Okay. Now there is a record. I mean, how the number one golfer in the country can't be one of the most recognizable names out there, but that's the reality of it. I think that's what you were alluding to.
Yeah.
I do love golf. I'll watch golf, but I don't think that it's one of those things where it takes a lot to get people to tune in heavily. I've talked about when Tiger plays in the Masters. When Tiger won the Masters years ago, I've always said Tiger is the best thing and worst thing for golf, because he's a constant reminder of what golf used to be. And then when his presence isn't there, then it's like, oh, this is what we're left with. And that's what drives me nuts about that. Now, people think, just like you think I hate on Joey Votto, people think I hate on Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
You guys wrestling fans? You guys WWE fans? Any one of you? I think we talked about this last time, Casey. You are not?
No.
I would rather I'd rather poke my eyes out with knives.
Strays. Well, I'm a big wrestling guy, so for my wrestling guys in the chat, there's a big thing that people get upset about was when WWE brings back the old timers, when they bring back a Stone Cold Steve Austin, or they bring back a Rock, or they bring back guys like this, because they get that ratings pop, it goes through the roof, and then what happens is fans enjoy it, and then when they go away after their program is done, it's like, oh yeah, these guys suck compared to this guy. This product stinks now. That's what happens when Tiger Woods comes back to golf. So, there's that. I don't know how we got to this.
I don't know how we got to it either. I'm still trying to find. I think Scheffler's still 1 under par, by the way, today. I don't know if that's accurate, or I tried to look it up, and this PGA Tour website's down. So.
Oh, that's good.
So I couldn't find what he's at right now. I'm sure I can look.
Maybe their
phone.
stat guy got arrested too. I'm not really sure what's going on with that.
Made a wrong turn.
That's good.
It's just wild. But yeah, I think whenever you do the nostalgia thing, the nostalgia always plays every time. If you go the old timey thing, it's just always going to play
every time. That's why I do like what do they call it? When you have Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and they paired up in the golf, what is that called? The match?
The match.
The match. Like, that's always cool, too, especially when Tiger's out there with – I mean, I would tune into that more than anything else. Just
they overplayed that, though. It was really good when it was like the initial one was Tiger versus Phil.
Yep.
And it was like we get to see – and this is, by the way,
Phil
when they
got a little weird.
Yeah, well, poor Phil, man. That guy – you see him wearing goggles the other day?
No.
He was wearing goggles on the practice green. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goggles?
No, like they were like science goggles. Like it's hard to explain it if you can't see it, but they're legit the most I guess they were to read greens, I think, is what they were for. But absolutely outrageous. That is when the nostalgia thing works, though, for sure. Something like that.
Well, I tell you what, it's the Kidder and Kev Show here on a Friday, live in the Chatterbox Sports studio, of course. We're on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 Wing AM. Elliot Rearing, Casey McAllister hanging out with us as well. Kev Nash off doing other radio things today, so every time I have a chance to pop into the studio, I always take advantage of that. I brought gifts for you guys, too.
What?
Got some more Reds
More
bobbleheads.
gifts?
I love
got
gifts.
some more Reds bobbleheads.
Can we do an ungifting during the show?
We'll do it during this break while we wait for Bobby to pop on.
Okay.
Sound good? All right, so Bobby Carpenter is going to hang out with us on the other side. It's the Kidder and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Boom.
All right, so we're off the radio.
Well, do you want to give yourself 5 seconds there? Now we can go.
Okay.
So now we're still on, but we're
still
not on
on,
radio.
but we're
So
not on.
Okay, let me see what we got. I don't know what the Reds sent me. The Reds always send us some stuff.
This is when you're a big-time Reds radio affiliate.
Oh,
They
yeah.
send you these.
The box used to be bigger, by the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Let's see what we got. You know what? I'm going to let you guys do this because I always embarrass myself trying to open up the... No.
Is it heavy? Is it heavy?
No, I think it's bobbleheads. I'm just curious which ones.
Let's see. Let's see.
Open it, Elliot. Open it.
It's like Christmas morning.
Let's see what Santa brought us.
So the headset's all good. I'll be able to hear old Bobby when he jumps on.
Yes, you should be able to hear him.
Cool beans. Cool
Let me,
beans.
actually, he just jumped in. Let me talk to him real quick.
Cool, yeah. Once he's set up and ready to rock, we'll get back on and going. Alex Wallace wants us to ask Bobby about Ryan Day.
Look at all this.
What we got? Oh, look. Oh, what's that? Is that the schedule, the gifts?
This is here's what to expect with promotional items. Kroger calendar.
Ooh.
An Alexis Diaz bobblehead.
Ooh.
Elly De La Cruz bobblehead.
So is that in that box?
I think so.
Do we have an Elly De La Cruz?
I think that's what this means. Graham Ashcraft, beach towel, TJ Friedel, Hunter Green, team photo.
You look like a beach towel kind of guy, Elliot.
Yeah, that's what you saw. I looked like a beached whale. That's more accurate. But let me see what else we got. Well, you got an interview to do.
We got. Is Bobby
calendars?
good?
Yeah, he's ready.
Cool beans. We'll continue the gift unveiling coming up here in a bit. So, all right, we'll do the old countdown and we'll be ready to rock. Hey, Bobby. Oh, should I be hearing him now?
No, I was going to.
Oh, I was interrupting your countdown. My bad. And we are back. It's the Kidder and Kev Show here, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, coming at you live from the Chatterbox studios, of course, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Kev Nash out doing other radio responsibilities today, so I got my guys, Elliot Rearing and, of course, Casey McAllister, helping out today, and, of course, we're bringing on our next guest, who's also going to kind of put some of the show on his shoulders and help carry it a bit. We got Bobby Carpenter giving us some time today. Bobby, it has been a while, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's good to hear from you on this lovely Friday. Hopefully it's, clearing up on the western part of the state. It was a little rainy this morning. Unfortunately, we got our OSU golf outing rained out, but, hopefully it's looking up for the weekend.
Oh, so that was today. Is that why I saw Skip and those guys were out golfing yesterday? They were getting prepared for today, huh?
Well, I don't know about Skip. This is mostly like the players outing. So, yeah, Skip, they're doing their own thing. He only works.
They're out not working. They're out not working.
Yeah,
see.
exactly.
Well, I think my turn to not work is coming up. I think we're golfing here shortly either way. But, Bobby, appreciate you doing this, obviously. And you know what's interesting? So doing this show here in Hamilton, Cincinnati's kind of an interesting market because if I talk Buckeyes anywhere else, people, they bleed the scarlet and gray. They love the scarlet and gray. But there's something about Cincinnati that I don't know at what point coming into Cincinnati where the scarlet and gray stops bleeding here. What do you think it is about Cincinnati? Why Cincinnati? Of all the spots in the state of Ohio, what is it about Cincinnati that the scarlet and gray has not been able to infiltrate, in your opinion?
Well, I think it has more so than maybe it had in a while. And there's obviously going to be pockets and there's going to be some different areas. But I think if you look at it, Cincinnati's kind of its own unique beast down there in the 513. It's got obviously a large contingent of, Catholic population. You look at the large Catholic high schools there, dioceses are very, very strong. So because of that, there's that, that natural allegiance. You have a little Notre Dame in there. You've got guys from there go to Boston College, have some of that. Obviously the Dayton connection. There's Xavier. It's got Cincinnati down there, which kind of its own University of Cincinnati, its own deal. It's kind of a pro sports down too. And then not far away, you have Louisville and you also have Lexington. And so you have that influence there. I think a little bit of Big Blue Nation, a little bit of the Louisville Cardinals when they were rolling in basketball. So it's just at the confluence there that it's kind of a unique place and kind of like nowhere else in Ohio. And so I think Ohio State has made great inroads there during their time. And Kerry Combs was very instrumental in that one. He was at Ohio State. But yeah, it's not like the rest of the state where whether in Youngstown or Cleveland or even large portions of Toledo, you really feel the Buckeye fever.
Bobby, college football, Ohio State, obviously what we talk a lot about on this show, of course, especially as we get closer and closer to the season. This offseason is not as dark as I anticipated it to be, especially with losing to Michigan for the third straight year, the tough bowl loss. It just felt like there was no momentum, there was no energy taken into the offseason. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was, the NIL collective switch, all of a sudden something flipped, and then it was just full steam ahead, all momentum in favor of Ohio State and Ryan Day and the coaching staff as he had to repiece that together. Just your overall takeaway. It's been a weird offseason considering how the season ended and how they were able to regain control and momentum and to take control of the narrative. Just your overall vibe and feel of Ohio State and Ryan Day, as this is probably one of the most important off seasons in the history of the program.
It is. I think Ryan sensed that. I think he understood that. Ryan, you can't confuse the fact that he's a good dude with him, that kindness with weakness. He's about as competitive as you're going to find. And he saw what he needed to do. They made some changes on the coaching staff this year, and even some tweaks, and then tweaking again with obviously Bill O'Brien leaving, and then bringing on Chip Kelly and what he's been able to provide, and a lot of a security blanket on offense for Ryan, for a guy who's not only familiar with his system, who's coached in the NFL, who's coached in college at the head level, but also as a guy who's known Ryan for a long time. So there's an inherent trust there. And then went out, and someone, I was talking about this yesterday, where they feel like this team is, just kind of a patchwork of guys together, given the portal. I go, listen, you look around. I mean, this is college football. Ohio State brings in less portal guys than just about any other school. I mean, they're not bringing in more than 5 or 6 guys, maybe 7, 8. But it's not like they're out there bringing in a whole portal recruiting class. They're filling needs and taking players of value. And in doing that, then you've got to help build that locker room. But they had all these guys come back, especially on the defensive side. They're real excited. You had Judkins in on offense. You have Seth McLaughlin they're going to throw in either at guard or center. You feel good about that. You had a Caleb Downs in the secondary. All of a sudden now you're building something pretty special, shifting Sonny Styles around down to linebacker. And so they have all these guys to return. They've got some key portal additions, and it's really come together quite nicely. The assimilation of this team has been very impressive. And talking with Lathan Ransom, I had him on my YouTube show, the Bobby Carver Show. We were talking about this, me and Josh Perry with him, about how this team, despite NIL and despite the transfer portal and everything, it's like this is as close a team, as close a locker room as I feel like I've been on. And I think you can sense that. And being around the guys, you feel it. And because everyone thinks, oh, these guys are mercenaries now. It's a different time. Yeah, things have changed a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily mean the fabric of a team has to change. And getting privileged enough to being around Ryan and being around the guys in the locker room, I mean, this is as a close a group as you're gonna find. And so I think that's where a lot of that positive momentum comes from. And they're excited to kick off this summer, because this is going to lay the groundwork for heading into camp and what they're going to be able to do this year.
Chip Kelly, I think that caught a lot of people by surprise, although there was talks and rumors of, him potentially joining the staff as we got closer and closer to that change, of course. But that's one of the more wilder additions. That was a very aggressive addition for Ryan Day. Obviously, if you know their history, obviously they go back, quite some ways. But for some on the outside looking in, they could look at that and say, it's kind of a gutsy move on Ryan Day's part because you bring in a big-time name head coach to be your offensive coordinator. You've lost 3 straight to Michigan. Fan base getting a little uneasy after how the last season went down. That was a pretty aggressive move, and it shows how Ryan Day is not putting his interests first. I mean, that was a team-first move to bring in a guy with the experience of Chip Kelly. Just talk about the decision. I know we're months since that move has been made, but still, that was a very big decision from Ryan Day to bring Chip Kelly in, and that's huge for the program, no doubt.
It really was. And he wanted an offensive coordinator, I think, that had been in the NFL, a guy that had been a head coach before, because then you can understand how to call a game from a head coach's perspective, because he wanted to be able to turn over play calling duties. If you look at what Ryan's doing now, any college head coach, I mean, it's almost too difficult to call plays because actually the football aspect is such a small part of it now. You're dealing with NIL, it's meetings, it's transfer portal, it's recruiting, it's all this other stuff. The ability to actually be a football coach, that's such a small fraction of it. And so bringing in Chip Kelly then after Bill left, to me, people look at it, it was an aggressive move, absolutely, because he had a buyout at UCLA. He'd been a head coach. They have a long history. I mean, Chip recruited him out of high school to go to New Hampshire. I think they're both from Manchester and New Hampshire. There's a understanding of familiarity there. So I think there's an inherent trust where Ryan can say, you call the plays. I'm going to be involved. I'm going to coach the quarterbacks and do this, but you're good at this. Chip Kelly's an excellent play caller. He's really good in the run game. People think of him as a spread, finesse, passing the ball. He loves to run the football. You go look at UCLA the last couple of years, they're pulling guys, they're running counters. They want a physical football team. And so for Ryan to turn that over to him and give up the reins to call and plays, like that's a big piece of it. And that's a sign of maturity. You got to remember, it's still Ryan's first job. Now he's been in it for 5+ years. He's learned a lot. There's been a development aspect of it. And I'm really excited for this because he went out and tried to figure out, like you said, is what can we do to make Ohio State better? With players, with coaches that are not here, the players that are here, how can we optimize them? How can we optimize the coaches that are here? And how can we build a brotherhood to make sure that we're going to collectively as a team be as good as we can possibly be?
You mentioned it a little bit ago. Obviously, they're Ohio State traditionally not the most aggressive team when it comes to the transfer portal, but that was their best friend. When you look at where they added a lot more depth this past offseason. I had a chance to run. I had a conversation with Jim Tressel. He was at UD Arena for the OHSA State Basketball Championships, and we were just talking about why Ohio State is set up to be one of the championship favorites. Obviously, just the talent alone, but he talked about the importance of depth because we could talk so much about the roster and the team heading into the season, but what's most important is the team you have at the end of the season heading into the playoff. And you could be playing up to 17 games if your season goes the way you anticipate it to. Depth is the biggest key for this team. We could talk about Will Howard. We could talk about Judkins being added to the running back room, but depth, and not just the quarterback and running back position, but depth across the board is huge, especially if they aspire to make a deep run into the inaugural 12-team college football playoff this season.
So you mentioned the potential of 17 games. You're playing a national championship. It's 16 or 17. And the difference is with college football, there is no waiver wire. This isn't the Cincinnati Bengals where you can go grab somebody, scoop a guy up who you had in training camp earlier in the year. And so defensively, you're going to need to make sure you're playing eight D linemen. You're going to be playing 3 and 4 linebackers for 2 spots. You're going to make sure that you're playing 7 and 8 defensive backs for the 5 spots to make sure that those guys that are young are ready to go should someone get hurt. B, making sure the young guys who are good enough to play get on the field, because if you're good enough to play, you should be on the field. And then C, you're going to continue to develop those guys and help keep the frontline guys fresh, if you will. And so you're going to need to do that at running back. And you look at the Judkins and Henderson situation, receiver, they're going to play a lot of guys. And then especially on defense, you're going to have that. The only place you really don't rotate is the offensive line and the quarterback. And outside, they'll probably still work some young offensive line in. But I think you'll see more of this when a game is 21-3 in the second quarter. Hopefully, you're going to see early on getting some guys in there. Jermaine Matthews is rotating in consistently on defense. You'll see Lorenzo Styles hopefully coming in for nickel for Hancock a little bit and rolling these guys through there to make sure that some of those young freshman safeties are rolling in for Lathan and Caleb. And obviously the defensive line, getting, a guy like making sure that you've got a nice rotation going with Corey Simon, Sonny Styles, and CJ Hicks. Probably throwing Gabe Powers in there too to make sure they're all ready to go and that they'll all be fresh. And then when their time is called, if someone is hurt and somebody has to go a full 60, 70 plays in a game, they're prepared enough to do that. So it's exciting. Ryan's taking an aggressive approach with that. And that's why people talk about like a collection of talent versus a team. They brought in a handful of transfers at select positions. They didn't have anybody of consequence really leave during that second spring window. And I think that speaks to the fact that some of these guys knew, hey, I might not be a guy that's going to be the frontline guy, but they're going to play me. I'm going to get 35, 40% of the snaps when I need to. I'm going to get developed, and I'm going to be in a program that's highly competitive. And so I think that speaks to the health of the program right now.
Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, a lot of new additions to the Big Ten this upcoming season. We knew last year after the national championship game ended, it was going to be one of those, the end of an era, and it was going to be a whole other vibe and feel for college football moving forward. Not only is it the inaugural 12-team college football playoff era that we're embarking on, but the Big Ten's going to have a completely different vibe, look, and feel as well with the additions of Oregon, USC, Washington, UCLA, as we talked about. Ohio State, they'll be on the road at Oregon, so they'll get their first taste of them as a Big Ten showdown right there. But just, I know you've given your opinions on the additions of those four teams in the past, but now that we're embarking on that season with those new additions, what do they bring and what does it mean for the Big Ten?
Well, I think Oregon's really good. You look at what Dan Lanning's done there. They lost Bo Nix, but they brought in Dylan Gabriel. They're going to be a very talented team. I think it's them and Ohio State are the two most talented teams in the Big Ten, and you're going to have Michigan and Penn State kind of right there with them. USC is a big wild card because I've watched them score a lot of points. I watched them with the Heisman Trophy winner last year, where they go 7-5, 8-5. Like, they weren't a great squad by any stretch. UCLA's got a lot of work to do. And then Washington with Fish, Jed Fish heading up there, they're coming off a national championship, but they had a lot of departures, guys leaving the draft. They had one of their best corners go to Oregon. And so they've had some departures, but Jed Fish has done a good job. He did a great job at Arizona. And so I think if you tier them coming in, it's probably Oregon, maybe Washington with USC close behind or vice versa, and then UCLA a little bit below. But it's going to add the traveling dynamic. It's adding a couple more big branded blue blood programs. Oregon is an incredibly hostile environment to play. It's a tough place to get to. And so there's going to be some obstacles and hurdles that are going to come with this first season in this. But the good news is that it's divisionless. So if you're in the East and you're the second best team in the East, well, you know what? And you're the second best team in the conference, you're going now to the conference championship game because there's no more East or West. And so you've got that. You'll have, 10 days off, and then you'll be playing the first round of the playoff. So there's going to be a lot of games that will be coming thick and fast.
Bobby Carpenter hanging out with us here. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Talking Ohio State, talk the Big Ten, and of course, I'm surprised it's taken this long for me to bring up that cheating team. That team up north, the Michigan Wolverines. Of course, they're going to have, the defending national champions. We could talk about all the off-the-field stuff, or technically the on-the-field stuff from last year and everything that kind of went down with that. But they're going to have a much different look and vibe and feel as well as they look to try to put the pieces back together after Harbaugh departs for the NFL. But the defending national champions, the Michigan Wolverines, much different look coming up this season.
They are. But you saw Donovan Edwards. He's on the cover of the new NCAA football game. He's kind of the guy that's right in the center. Judkins is in there as well. They got a number of players, but right front and center, you've got Donovan Edwards, and played really well at the end of the season last year for Michigan. We've watched Sharon Moore. Last year you saw him coach basically half the season. Did a really good job of it. But now it's not just coaching. There's really three facets to coaching. You've got your in-game coaching, you've got your organizational and program building, and then you've got recruiting. And we've watched Sharon Moore run games, and he's done a good job. Great job managing the game. Now, can you build a program over the course of the year? Can you manage assistants? And then the recruiting element of it as well. And so we'll see. I think they're a very good team. Obviously, when you have 13 guys drafted, there's going to be a large loss of talent. They saw a lot of guys go, and they're going to have a number of players that are playing in the NFL next year because of it. And so you got to rebuild a little bit. But make no mistake about it, there's still going to be a very good football team this year.
Last thing on college football, Bobby. you had Dabo Swinney recently. I mean, they're the only team. How many Division I college football teams are there? Kevin and I talked
I
about
checked
this.
that. There's like 131 maybe. They're not the only team.
Okay.
It's fake news. It's close. They're the only non-service academy that did not bring in a transfer in the transfer portal. So I don't know. Yeah, it is a technicality. I don't know if West Point's offering mid-year guys, given how hard it is there, or Air Force or Navy, but they're the only non-service academy to not bring in a mid-year transfer.
But with him, I mean, it's wild because, I mean, if 3-4 years ago, short years ago, I mean, you had Nick Saban, and he was he was right in the heels of Nick Saban as being listed as the top head football coach in college football, of course. I mean, blowing out Alabama, winning multiple national championships, and they've taken some steps back. It's like Dabo is not buying into the, when you start looking at the transfer portal. But I mean, in his defense, he said, hey, technically his whole roster is nothing but transfers because they all transferred from high school, I guess. Speaking of technicalities, but is it odd that you have such a big-name head coach in Clemson that's just not buying into the transfer portal, and can they sustain any kind of success without doing that?
Well, the transfer portal is a unique beast, and I think the elite programs, they use the transfer portal as a supplement when they need something. If they had a guy, because here's the thing, the transfer portal works both ways. And so you may have a guy that should be playing next year, but he's got a guy in front of him. He knows he's not going to play maybe as much as he would like this year. Someone else offers him a boatload of NIL money over here. And so hey, I can go here and be a starter. And I know that I'd be playing some this year and a lot next year. But I'm going to be able to go take this opportunity now. Thanks for developing me as much as you did. And so because of that, you may have a void. And whether it's Alabama, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, whatever, that happens. That's going to happen some. You can't ever eliminate it. So you need to replace that guy with a depth piece, with someone who has experience. And so because of that, you may need to go in the portal. But you want to be real selective about how often you do it, whom you do it with, and when you're using it. Because you want to make sure that you're rewarding guys in program who do it right and give them opportunities. You don't want to go there and try to build a team of transfers where it's just a collection of talent as opposed to building a team. And you don't want to get bad guys that aren't locker room fits and culture. I know that's what Dabo was worried about. And Georgia 2 years ago didn't bring in a transfer in, and they won a national championship. But you look at Kirby Smart. You're bringing a handful of guys. You're Ryan Day. You're bringing a handful of guys. You want to bring in, ideally, like I looked at this, I think probably 5 to 8% is probably a realistic number. Somewhere between, 4 to 8 guys a year in the portal. If you're doing it right, that means you can get good players to help you and supplement and provide depth, and maybe a frontline guy or a guy who's just really talented, who fits what you do, who went to a school that's like, I didn't like it there, I want to come here now instead. But you don't want to try to be building whole classes of that. And so Dabo is closer to right than wrong. He just needs to realize, and they did go after a couple of guys. I think they just didn't really fall in place for him. And maybe they didn't like him culturally, and that's cool. That's okay. If you go after a guy and you don't like him, it's fine. The reason Ohio State has Quinshon Judkins is because they brought in Davidson Igbenusson. IGB, basically the mob, vouched for him. And he goes, this is a place that you want to be, Quinshon. This is Ohio State's the spot you want to be. And he told Ryan, this is a guy that you want. He's an alpha. He's a dog. He is a dude. Now let's talk to Trey and make sure he's good with it. And Trey's like, hey, let's just make the team better. Buckeyes, you sign up, and that's the type of ultimate team that you want, of guys that are highly competitive, that want to push each other, want to be better, that are team first guys. And so that's the way the portal works in a positive manner. You have Nigel Glover, who transferred in late from Northwestern. That was a tough situation with Fitzy. Jahad Carter came in last year from Syracuse. Both those guys never really played, and it's some different reasons and why they transferred. Then they transfer out, and that's something that I think that's not the great example. That's what you don't want to see happen. And so it's hard. The portal's a tough thing to manage, but if you can hit it right and get a guy that's really good, and you have good intel on what type of character he is and what type of player he is, then I think you go for it. But you need to be real selective in doing it.
Bobby Carpenter, last thing on the way out, sir. Appreciate you giving us some time here today. NFL question on the way out. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals, of course. Joe Burrow, coming off of that season-ending injury last year, looks like he's, ready to rock heading into this offseason, get a full offseason program underway. I was catching the Pat McAfee show the other day. A.J. Hawk was talking about this. He experienced a similar injury. Lots of, love Pat Matt. I love that dang show, but I just feel like that's not getting talked about enough. All the concerns about the potential the potential to re-injure that wrist, that a lot of guys don't get full mobility back with that. Just your overall, you see, he's allergic to the Joe Burrow slander over there. Just your overall takeaway as far as what you're hearing about Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals heading into a very important offseason.
It's very important, obviously. And what AJ's saying is his personal experience. I know this about injuries. Everybody heals differently. Everybody has their own timeline. There's going to be different limitations. Things are going to happen, and obviously there's issues with that. And people act like the human body is a car. And I remember talking to a trainer and one of our team physicians. Like, me going in and scoping your shoulder, it's not like I'm just opening up the hood of your car and replacing a battery. It's like you have to drill in there, cut through muscle, cut through tissue, replace it, heal it, or fix it. Let your body then heal itself while you're healing the entry wounds and everything else. And so it's not like it's just snip, snap. Now, Joe Burrow takes his rehab really seriously. He's a guy that grinds. He works hard. I anticipate him being fine. But for people to act like, hey, he had surgery, it was right away, it'll be no big deal. It's no big deal to you because it's not your body. You haven't had to deal with it. As a guy who's had 4 different surgeries, 2 on my legs, 2 on my shoulders, and that doesn't count what some people call surgeries that I would call more procedures. Your body doesn't always come back 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that's going to be the case with Joe. And that doesn't mean that his risk being 95% is going to limit him. Or maybe he's got a little bit of loss of motion. He's going to keep grinding on it. But there is always that risk. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not speaking ill of Joe Burrow because he's overcome a lot. I love the kid. He's worked his butt off. He's one of my favorite people all time. But he's got to work through this. And for everyone that acts like, oh, yeah, he just had a wrist replacement. They went in there and slapped a new one on. He'll be fine. I wouldn't go that far.
All right, Bobby Carpenter. Bobby Carpenter's show on YouTube as well. You're a busy guy. You and Joshua Perry, you guys do a fantastic job with that. Just plug that on your way out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Go check us there at Bobby Carp Show on YouTube. We've been dropping every week. Going to do a little inside baseball. We're going to start doing a live show as well here midsummer. Haven't got the full launch date yet. Leading in, so that'll be a daily show as well, supplementing that in the midday, probably around noon. We don't have a full start time on that yet either.
All right. Well, Bobby, you the man. Appreciate you. It's been a while. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Good stuff. It's the Kidder and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We'll step away for a few moments, and hour number 2 coming up next. I could take those headphones off now.
Yes.
We are off and rolling.
Yes.
Hour number 2. And, have I ever sneezed in the middle of one of your interviews? That was
No,
a
you
loud
haven't.
sneeze. I feel like that was
No, you
strategically
haven't.
planned. It was strategically placed.
I every once in a while, and I don't know what causes it. Whenever I get something in my brain where somebody's slandering one of my favorite guys, my body's like, you got to let something out. You got to try to stop it. I don't know what you're going to do, but you got to try to stop it. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to do just then, and I apologize. By the way, and that was a great segment on Ohio State. Shout out to Ohio State. I'm not a big college football guy myself. I'm going to try to get back into it this year. I've never been a fan of the playoff or the old playoff setup where it seemed like unless you're in the
Beauty
SEC,
pageant.
Big Ten, yeah, it's all usually the same group of teams that are fighting for it. This year I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to find my team. Normally I'd pick for my Bearcats. I'm a Bearcats guy. Unfortunately, I'm not a big Scott Satterfield fan. Just not. I think that was a terrible hire. So I'm going to try to find a secondary team. I'm going to try a secondary team to root for, and we'll see what I can do. But if I can, real quick.
Yes, sir.
I was looking on Twitter during that interview.
Uh-huh.
The Scotty Scheffler memes that are running
yes. They already had T-shirts. People already had T-shirts there.
So if it's okay, Casey, can I show them some of these? This is some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen in my. Don't show the last one.
What do you have on that computer screen over there?
Well, there's a couple memes that probably shouldn't be shown, but there's one meme, and specifically the one you were talking about. Guys have already printed the mugshots on T-shirts and are walking through Valhalla Golf Club.
Beautiful.
And apparently,
there it is.
I found more information on what happened. Casey sent it to me. The police officer who tried to stop the car was actually brought down by the car. So that's where the assault came from. Scotty kept driving with the guy on the car. with the police officer like touching his car, knocked the police officer over. And again, not a funny situation. But the last line of the police report was,
Oh, no.
The police officer reports pants cost $80 and they were damaged beyond repair.
Oh, T's and P's, my dude. T's and P's during this tough time.
So that's what's going on there. Very, very funny. I'm working on my own Scotty Scheffler tweet right now.
So
I'm carefully crafting it.
here's the thing that, like, when stuff like this happens, because we all know the unfortunate situation, there was a fatality there this morning. I think we can all agree, and I don't think we always have to do the disclaimer of, man, that we need to, that's horrific.
Yeah.
I think we all are in agreement of that. I just feel like a lot of times we always have to put out that little, that's awesome too. Was that an actual mugshot then?
No, that was another meme.
Okay.
So if you're listening on the radio, imagine Scotty Scheffler Masters winner wearing the green jacket, but subtly under the green jacket is an orange jumpsuit from prison.
Little little Hasselhoff, little hair hanging out the front of the little V right there. Good for him. But, I mean, he doesn't look as upset as what you would be. I mean, I think he knew, hey, I'm about to be, blow up because of this. So good for him. Actually, that had that look of my lawyers, my attorneys will be in touch with your people very, very soon.
Do you think this will be the last time Valhalla hosts an event?
I've been seeing all day on social media. Well, Kentucky, enjoy the last one.
Yeah,
Valhalla.
It was fun while it lasted. Can you imagine the pressure? Because surely the PGA Tour is going to hire a driver for tomorrow's round for Scotty Scheffler. Somebody else is going to be in charge of the vehicle. Could you imagine the pressure that guy's going to feel driving to the course? Make sure nothing happens.
Poor Angel Reese. She thinks she has it tough because she has to, fly commercial. the number one golfer in the world had to drive himself to his own tournament. They need their own driver. Then that avoids stuff like that, nonetheless. But appreciate Bobby Carpenter taking some time and hanging out with us a little bit ago. I brought up the Joey B thing at the end just because his good friend AJ Hawk, of course. You guys watch the Pat McAfee show? Love the Pat
I
McAfee
watch it
show.
every once in a while. See, here's the thing with me in sports talk. As I do it every single day, it's difficult for me to watch it or listen to it.
So when I go home, I should watch more sports when I go home. And people are like, oh, this is why I know you don't know absolute blank. But, you go home, and it's, like, tough. But I always have, like, the Reds game off to the side on my iPad or something while the wife and I are watching a show or a movie or something. But, it's her birthday coming up this weekend. So I've been doing some landscaping and doing all this stuff. We're having a big party for her at the house this weekend.
Are we invited?
So, more the merrier. Bring a gift. Bring one of those bobbleheads.
By the way, I investigated your bobblehead box.
Do not investigate my body, please.
I won't. I'll try to avoid that. 6 bobbleheads of all the same thing.
Who?
They're all Alexis Diaz.
Oh, they're just trying to get rid of those.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Him
They
too,
also
I
have
think.
4 or 6 calendars as well. Team calendars.
Is it the City Connect bobbleheads?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
so that helps. Oh, you got it open already.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
It's right there.
Very nice. Add
Nice
to
in
the
front.
collection. Take one for yourself, Casey. Take one as well.
Yeah, Case, do you want one?
Not the calendars, though. I want the calendars.
Well, I brought one calendar out,
No,
too.
take a calendar. Take a calendar.
Here
But
you go. Have another, Casey.
real
very
quick,
nice.
Roger says in all caps, no. Oh, it's all caps, Raj. That's right. No free ads, Kinner. What did I just promote?
What did you promote?
Yeah, I don't know. Roger, help me out. Roger that. Help me out. What did we just promote? It's okay. I'm just kind of curious. Maybe I dropped something. Oh, Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
When do you think, and you
Pat's
kinda,
my guy.
And you kind of talked about the changing landscape of college football in that interview just then. When do you think it's just going to become a professional league, just a professional subsidiary of the NFL?
I'm dreading the day that they finally do branch off from the NCAA.
Because that's going to happen.
I don't know why fans are like, I can't wait for when that happens. Why? Why do we can't wait for when that happens? For those, like, I'm not a big fan of how sports has changed, and it's changed in a hurry. I mean, if you go back to 2020, we're dealing with the changing landscape of how we live our day-to-day lives during COVID, and then that's when all this stuff just started hitting the fan as far as, teams jumping ship from one conference to the other, and then the NIL thing taking off, and then everyone's like, I can't believe you want players to play for free and all this. And I'm like, no offense, but I don't really care. Why do we pretend to care? Why do we do this thing all the time? And by the way, like, yes, do I think that they should be able to make money like everybody else? Yes. But why is that something that everyone pretends to be losing sleep over at night? Like, that doesn't concern you. In fact, what does concern you is college athletics as you know it. And that's what's changing, and that's how I view things, is from a viewing perspective, how is this going to impact me? Because they don't care about my money on a day-to-day basis, so why should I care about theirs?
Yeah.
So as sports has changed over the years, and drastically, I may add, we're not done changing. I think that this is just kind of a little, we're going to enjoy this upcoming college football, college basketball season, and then I think more changes are coming. But I do think that the SEC, the Big Ten, these, high major conferences, and maybe just these big, the Big Two and the SEC and the Big Ten, I think they're just getting all their ducks in a row so they can split away from the NCAA, and then it's really going to feel off. It's really going to feel weird at that point, and I don't know. I mean, the one counter argument I have gotten that has made me change my view on this, because some people have said, well, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. Well, we're fans of pro sports, so why would we stop being fans of this if this happens? It's going to have a much different vibe and feel, but technically it already does. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of all of the changes, though. Let's be honest. I
don't want it to become a minor leagues. That's what I fear it's going to be, and it's not going to technically be a minor leagues because the college football has its own brand, has its own fan base. It's not going to be the XFL or anything like that. It'll still be college football, but you will lose the amateur side of it. You will lose the amateur athletics. You will lose the rivalries, the traditions. You're going to lose a lot of the magic.
Does the amateur side matter to you, though?
Yeah, it does to me.
In my argument, I'm just curious why.
It does to me because I think when I watch an NFL game, I know what I'm getting. I'm getting the guys at the pinnacle of their sport. I'm seeing the guys that have worked their careers, their lives, their athletic careers specifically to that moment, and they're going up against each other in the NFL. I think when you have a group of guys, a group of kids, I'm going to use the term kids, even though obviously 18 to get into college, I'm going to use the term kids. When these kids get together from all over the country and they come together for a school, for something that seems bigger than themselves, that is cool to me. And it'll always be cool to me. The NFL, let's be clear, yes, these are professional athletes. They're playing on a team. It's a very much individual thing. These guys are playing for their own contracts. They're playing for their own brand deals. They're playing for themselves. As much as they're playing for their team, they're playing for themselves. In college, it used to not be that, right? It used to be for the team, for the university, for the 12th man. It's for the fan base. It's for that magic of being attached to a university. Notre Dame, when you think about Notre Dame, you think about the school, you think about the old-time Notre Dame before they got the Jumbotron and the nice fancy suites up there. And it used to just be a massive college stadium in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And everybody's coming in, they're singing songs together. It's fun. You're doing the push-up thing with the kids. The whole part of college football that everybody's drawn to is that.
Yep.
I think
everything else.
You're going to lose that to me when amateur athletics becomes professional athletics, because then it's going to be everybody's dialed in. It's going to be more expensive tickets. Who's getting paid the most? Is he going to lose his scholarship, his NIL contract this season if he doesn't perform well enough? And that takes away from the pageantry, from those moments where you would only get if they were just kids, if they were just amateurs.
Yeah, do scholarships even matter anymore? By the way,
no, they don't.
For all the athletes out there that try to devalue the scholarships, well, now that NIL's a thing, let's get rid of scholarships. And then we'll all of a sudden hear the truth from athletes that maybe these scholarships actually do matter.
Yeah.
Wait, I actually have to pay my own way to college? Maybe, just maybe, the scholarships. Because let's keep in mind, too, for everyone out there, there were a lot of people, and me at one point would say, well, it's not like they're not getting paid anything. They're getting a scholarship. Just because they don't value what they're getting doesn't mean that they're not getting something of value in return. Well, you know what? If these schools say, hey, no more scholarships, and then the athletes want to do the wait, so I have to pay my own way through school? Yeah. Oh, so you mean there was value to these value to these scholars? Wow, who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
Just because some are there not to play school and some aren't. Who knows?
Mark put it in the chat. Players were getting paid before NIL. Let's not kid ourselves. No one's doubting that. No one's saying that. But there's a difference between doing it under the table and doing it out in the open for everybody to see. And the argument is, and I'm more on this side, doing it out in the open, making it obvious, making it clear what everybody's doing. We're all playing by the same rules now. It does make it probably safer. It makes it better for kids choosing which college they're going to. It makes it better for them in that regard. I will say, and I am for players getting money. I don't know. I think you are too.
Yeah. I said that like hesitantly. No. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
I just don't think they should become employees. That to me is still new to me.
And that's how you regulate that.
Too. That's where you're going with it. And it's the Dartmouth basketball team, I believe it was the first organized sporting group to do this. Their basketball team is They're employees of the university. They work for the university. They are getting paid by the university out and openly. And I think once you cross that line, I think then you have a different sport. It's not college football anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the NIL stuff too, when you take NIL and you mix it with the transfer portal, has created the biggest monster in the world. To me, NIL is not the worst thing about college athletics. It is the transfer portal. I know you'll get your Urban Meyers and others who have come out and stated how, they're for players getting paid, based on their name, image, and likeness, but it's basically turned into cheating. But the thing is, I don't know how it could be cheating if everyone's operating under the same rules. To where before, I think that the way it was before NIL was more cheating because the teams with more of the resources were doing more of the cheating under the table stuff than the teams that don't have the resources. To me, that was more cheating than anything else, nonetheless. But Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio, Casey McAllister and Elliot Rearing hanging out with us here in the Chatterbox studios. And I'm saying it like they're hanging out with me in the Chatterbox. I'm hanging out with them. I took the show on the road today. I have a question. What is, and don't throw stuff at me, what is Quiplash? What's
Quiplash
I
is
feel
a
like I'm
game.
aging my 34-year-old self. I interrupted Quiplash. I didn't know what Quiplash was. I apologize. There seems to be a guy in here that's upset about no Quiplash. I apologize.
There's a lot. Here's the thing with Chatterbox Sports. Communication is not key. Communication's like about 9th on the list, I'd say. And what happens is on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we do a show for the people who are members, the people who pay to watch us. Those are the names you see in green right there.
Okay.
They are the loyal members of Chatterbox Sports. They are the foundation that we have built. And on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do a show specifically for them. On Friday, we play a game called Quiplash with them.
Oh.
And usually what it is, it happens right after Off the Bench. And I don't know if you've played Cards Against Humanity.
Yes, I have.
So it's Cards Against Humanity, but they get to play, and it's electronic, so everybody we get to see each other's answers. It's a very, very fun time.
I might have to jump in on this, Casey.
If you guys want to, we can do after the show. We can do a one game of Quiplash for everybody if there's still a chat left to have. Because
it's not exactly like Cards Against Humanity because you get to make your own answers.
yeah.
But it is.
So it's not meant for radio.
It is not
Definitely not meant for
it is
radio.
That's
not
what makes
meant-
it fun.
It is not. It is meant for the ears that are comfortable with rated R material.
No, very nice, very nice. So, but yeah, I apologize. I was not very familiar with Quiplash, and I thought it was like a young little hipster game that I've outgrown.
Yeah.
That I was not familiar with the rules too. This, that, and the other. How much time we got? By the
You
way?
have no time.
No
we
time.
are out of time.
So we're gonna step away for a few. When we come back. You brought up Scott Satterfield a little bit ago, and I am kind of curious your thoughts on this because I thought that Cincinnati really missed the mark when you lose Luke Fickell. And you're coming off one of the most historic runs in Cincinnati football history. And the changing of the guard, if you will, all the changes in college athletics, obviously Cincinnati going to the Big 12, had a chance to make a splash, had a chance to keep that momentum going. Obviously, it was going to be tough to replace Luke Fickell to begin with, but I didn't think they did a very good job replacing Luke Fickell. And I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that from a Cincinnati Bearcat perspective with doing the show here in Hamilton today. Got a couple Bearcat fans sitting with me today, so we'll get into that when we come back. I want to talk about the Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers, the Ravens, the AFC North, the schedule release from a couple days ago, some of the key takeaways. Well, I did not know about the Steelers' tough little I don't feel bad for them, but I had no clue. That is a gauntlet.
Gauntlet, dude.
That's ridiculous. We'll talk about that, too. More of the Kenner and Kev Show. Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Justin Kenner with you here. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Justin Kenner with you here, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing with us as well. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. If you missed our conversation with Bobby Carpenter, I'll have that cut up and posted separately coming up here after the show here in just a little bit, so keep that in mind. Appreciate Bobby. I met Bobby, gosh, when did I... known him for many years. I was in New York. This is when I got a chance to meet Pat McAfee and those guys. Bobby was working for ESPN at the time. He was doing Get Up with Greeny and those guys. So I got a chance to go be a fly on the wall in the studios in New York, like to see how all that stuff moves. It's a studio. Probably, I mean, the crazy thing is where they do their show Get Up from, it's not much bigger than this room right here, but they have a set in the corner, a set in the corner, and a set in the corner. So you just think it's this gigantic room that they're working in. It's not the biggest room in the world, but it was really cool kind of just sitting off in the vacant corner watching how they did the show. But you just see the show where they're sitting there, but like with the cameras moving, they're up and they're running from one end of the room to the other. They're constantly like on the move. It was very unique. But
That's
Bobby's
unreal.
a good dude. I've always appreciated him.
That one's not in Bristol.
That one's in New York, Seaport
Interesting.
District.
Interesting, and they've got green screens too, all over the place.
The shot of the river and everything behind them, that is a green
How about
screen
that?
shot right
That's
there.
pretty cool.
Well, so here's the deal. It used to be so the green screen is just a stagnant moving shot, right? But they used to have a camera that would face that exact angle, and they had to stop doing it because this happened regularly. Dead bodies were washing up on the shore.
What?
Yes, regularly. So constantly, if you go back, and they were showing me some of the clips, if you go back and watch some of the early months of Get Up, and again, I mean, I guess that stuff happens common over there, just dead bodies washing up on shore. But yes, you would see like all the cops, you would see all the tape, you would see all the mess. That's it. So now they picked a clean day, no dead bodies washing up on shore, and yeah, so they run that. But interesting, nonetheless.
That's
wild.
incredible, dude.
But absolutely.
Surprised we haven't had that issue here.
I'm looking past this here.
I get nervous leaving my truck where I do, to be
It's-
quite honest
did
with
you do you put it on the street again, or did you put it in the parking
Oh,
lot?
right out this window, right over
Okay,
here.
that's
Keep an
fair.
eye on her. And I'm going to keep doing it until I get the ticket.
Okay.
You guys want to know a secret? You know
Yeah.
how I got away a couple years in college without having to buy a parking pass?
How's that?
Well, I bought a parking pass technically. I was like the Scotty Scheffler of Wright State students.
Oh,
okay?
no.
Oh, yeah, just breaking the law, right? I would go on the first day of class, and I would get the ticket. And when I walked out of class that day, the ticket was in the windshield, and I was
Yeah.
like, huh. So I took it out, threw it on my seat, and the next day I was like, oh, I got to make sure I go get that parking pass. So the next day I park, I'm running late for class, and I'm like, crap, I don't have time to go get the parking ticket. So I took the ticket that was sitting in my front seat, lifted the windshield, popped her in there, slapped it shut, went to class, and I did that the whole semester.
What?
It was legend, wait for it, daring.
Big How I Met Your Mother guy, that is right.
You
there.
are as well.
No,
There
well,
you go.
I'm going to be honest with you. I never really watched it. I know what happens in it. I've seen clips of it. I'm not a fan of the laugh track. I don't know if that ever gets on your nerve, but I'm a TV buff. I'm a movie buff. Whenever I have to watch old TV shows and I have to hear the laugh track, I don't do it. I can't get through it.
I'm a big sitcom guy.
I love
sitcom
sitcom. You're in The Office. You been a fan of The Office?
The Office taught me, like you, to not like the laugh track in the
Yep.
background because my laughter
Correct.
laughter will dictate if it's funny or not. I feel like it's cheating telling you when to laugh.
And that's the craziest part of it all. If you have good writers, if you have good comedy, you don't need the laugh track. I think there were a couple shows that I watched that get through the laugh track without me noticing. Seinfeld's one. I think Frasier. I don't know if you've ever seen Frasier.
Yep.
That was one show that I loved watching, and you don't really notice the laugh track because they're genuine laughs. Friends is a show where if you watch it, it's like, oh, they're fake laughing again, and it's just over and over. It's just a bad show.
Wait, so How I Met Your Mother, laugh track, right?
Yeah, and I didn't think the jokes in How I Met Your Mother were good enough to be to warrant without a laugh
So
track.
you watched Friends and you've watched How I Met Your Mother.
In parts, I haven't finished either show.
You've watched the same show.
Correct.
Well, it's the same damn show. It's the same amount of friends. They all meet at that local little pub.
You're right.
There's
Yeah.
always
You're
the
right.
little love
You're
duos
right.
in there, and it's all the same thing. Like
You're right.
it's all the same.
No, you're
same
100%
thing.
right. I'm just not a laugh track guy. I'm not a laugh track
I
guy.
mean, it's very awkward when they take away the laugh. Have you seen those clips when they take away the laugh
Yeah.
track and they just like...
But that's what I'm talking about. The Office is that. Like, they'll do those awkward silence, but they make it funny because they know how to write shows.
They're bringing The Office back, but no Steve Carell.
No Steve Carell, no cast. I don't think
No
they'll get
cast.
they'll get some of the scrubs back. They'll get Angela, respectfully.
We talked about Angela. Yeah.
They'll bring.
So they are getting some of the.
I
old
think some of them will
pieces.
make cameos just because some of them probably need the money.
Yeah, I mean, because you have Stanley doing Cheerio commercials.
Yeah, him
Poor guy.
and Phyllis. Phyllis did that commercial. Brian Baumgartner, the guy who played Kevin, he's had a decent career.
Yeah,
he's done a couple movies, and he's the big golf guy now. He does stuff with Golf Network all the time.
One of my good friends is a fan of The Office. I wanted to use him for a cameo, but it was kind of expensive.
Which one?
$250.
Who?
$250.
Brian Baumgartner?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
$250. I'm like, I don't like my friend that much.
Yeah, no.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Brian Baum is a cameo king.
He is the cameo. He is one of the OG cameo guys.
So Roger says, I never thought of it that way. Ken or Friends equals How I Met Your Mother. Yes, it's the same show. It's just a modern Friends is all it
I will
is.
say How I Met Your Mother is definitely better, and that's because, and only because of
Robin?
what's the guy's name? Neil Patrick Harris. Thank you.
Oh, no doubt. That's like Joey. Like he's like that. He's the show. He's
Yeah.
the version of Joey. This is a sports talk show, folks. I promise. It's Friday. I have no apologies. If I did this on a Monday, I'd feel a little bit worse. But it's also mid-May. We're also heading into June, and if the Reds don't get their together, like it's gonna be a lot of this. Okay?
It's gonna be a lot of ranking things. Casey and I were
We
talking.
call it list season. Kevin and I call it list season.
List season. List season's a great. Casey and I were talking last night. What the hell are we gonna? Especially with no Trace here, just me and Casey. What the hell are we gonna talk about?
Yeah, I dropped that earlier, and I could not have worded that any worse. No, Trace isn't technically going anywhere.
He's not. No.
Yeah. He just won't be on.
Won't be on every day on Off the Bench. Will
Yeah.
not be the host.
But,
it'll be a different version of Off the Bench. But yeah, this season's the worst if your team's bad, and when the team's playing bad, that's why we need. If we didn't win last night, we'd have nothing. We would have had absolutely nothing. So shout out to the Cincinnati Reds for showing up. By the way, I didn't tell you this, and this is some inside baseball for the radio listeners and for YouTube. We like to give those little hints out every once in a while. These 2 segments are shorter because we did go over in the first 4 segments. So we have 5 minutes left in this segment, and then 12 minutes in the final segment.
Oh, look at that! Look at that.
Just giving you a heads up.
So, Scott Satterfield, let me ask you this.
Here we go.
Cincinnati. Now, for this, back to our regular scheduled sports programming. I hated that hire when that happened. I thought that was a very underwhelming hire when it happened. Now, let me ask you, because it was a super aggressive take of mine. Now, when I was here last Monday, which seemed like ages ago, but also not that long ago, kind of
like
a weird
month
week,
ago.
I was told I had the worst take in the history of Chatterbox Sports, which I took that as an honor with my Joey Votto take. I wasn't going for that, but hey, sometimes, you stumble upon an award, every once in a while.
Banners hang forever.
Yeah, exactly. My, numbers retired, statues, all that, but the banners, that's where it's at. So at the time, there were members of the party of Deion Sanders that were interested in this Cincinnati Bearcat job. And I remember thinking back at that time, if you were the Cincinnati Bearcats, you are not going to be Ohio State. You are not going to be a perennial power. And that's not hating. That's just the reality of it. You're embarking on a transition into a Power 5 conference. It's going to be a whole other animal right now. You have to find ways to win the state. You have to find ways to win the press conference. You have to find ways to win the recruiting battles. You have to do all of that. And Deion, to me, at that time, was not a bad direction to go. And I had a problem with the fact that Cincinnati didn't even give him the interview. Now, looking back at it now, it looks like things are unraveling in Colorado. But I will say this. If Deion was good enough in Cincinnati, a better football program than Colorado, at least in recent times, maybe not big picture. I mean, you go back, Colorado, we thought Colorado was about to embark on returning to form. But Satterfield, Deion Sanders, you go back to that stretch, I'm still picking Deion every second of the day over Satterfield because Cincinnati at the very end of the day would be relevant. How relevant has Cincinnati been since the college football playoff exit against Alabama many, many moons ago? They haven't been, and I thought they dropped the ball big time on that hire with Satterfield.
So we have this debate on this show. Trace is notorious for this take that the Bearcats should have hired Deion Sanders.
Me and Trace have a lot of similar takes.
Yeah,
it is
you
kind of
do.
eerie.
as if Deion Sanders wanted to come to Cincinnati
He did.
instead of that gorgeous view he has outside of his office window in Colorado.
He said he wanted to come to Cincinnati.
That's what he says. I until I officially hear
Return to Cincinnati.
Correct.
He played sports in the beautiful city of Cincinnati.
I don't know if you know this, Elliot. He played for the Reds. Did you know that?
He was too busy doing radio, dude.
Listen, if Deion really wanted to come here, and I'm talking with Deion, and he tells me that, Cincinnati was my number one choice, obviously the Bearcats should have hired Deion Sanders. Here's the thing, and Alex Wallace brings it up in the chat, and he's 100% right. The Boosters and John Cunningham, whether or not you like him or not, they would not have allowed that to happen. Deion Sanders is not the guy. A, I don't know if UC has the money for it. B, I don't think they want the program to go in that route. And what that route is, I don't know.
Relevancy?
Whatever Deion Sanders is, I don't know yet because it's as of right now a disaster. We'll find out as the years go on. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a personable guy. I think the media would have loved him. I think the fans would have loved him. But at the end of the day, winning cures all. They lost a hell of a lot of games in Colorado.
Hold on. The games that they played were, in my opinion, a little more difficult than what the Bearcats schedule was.
It was a lot more difficult. The Bearcats had an easy schedule last year, which makes the hire of Satterfield even worse.
Yeah, and then on top of that, how much money did Colorado bring in with all those primetime games?
Probably a lot of money.
I think I don't see how you can I don't see how you can twist this Satterfield hire as a positive.
It's not but here's the thing, and I'll just never agree with you guys on it. Even though if what he said, if he came out and said it, I want to be Cincinnati's head football coach. That is my number one choice. If he came out and said that, then of course you hire Deion Sanders. But I don't think that was the case, and I don't think the Bearcats were negligent on that fact. I think they knew what they were doing. Of course, looking back on it, Scott Satterfield, I was not a fan of the hire when it happened. I thought it was a mediocre hire when we were going through that process. A couple of the big names was Brian Hartline, the guy from South Florida, a guy from Iowa State, I want to say. There was a couple coaches that made sense, and you're like, okay, maybe we can hire one of these. Maybe Toledo's guy was in it, Buffalo's guy was in the running, a couple MAC coaches. And at the end of the day, they hired with Scott Satterfield, a guy who his fan base wanted him out. Louisville fans wanted Scott Satterfield out of town. I thought it was a bad hire from the beginning, and you're seeing it on the field, and obviously he has not had time to have a full recruiting class in here yet.
And what makes it worse, you see Brom, though, go to Louisville and have instant success.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
That's technically his team, right?
That piles it on.
Let's go to break. I have a couple thoughts more on this, but let's go to break real quick.
That's fair. Kinner and Cap, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports Studios. We're live on YouTube. Elliot Rearing, Casey McAllister helped me hold it down here on a Friday. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Elliot Rearing, Casey McAllister. Again, it's the Kinner and Kev Show. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 Wing AM. This is my third time doing the show in the studio, and I stare at myself in the TV instead of staring at the camera. I don't know why I do that still.
Yeah.
It might take a minute.
Oh, it takes a bit. It takes a bit,
but I'm like looking at myself in the TV, wondering why I'm looking up when I'm not even looking at the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Nonetheless. I was thinking this ball, I don't know why it was over here. Did you throw this, or is this still left from the other day when you took the shot?
I don't know, but throw it.
Monday. How many back and forths can Kinner and Elliott get before dropping it?
The radio crew is going to love this.
The radio crew is
going to absolutely love this. Let's do it. Let's see it.
Everett Henry says this is still on, huh? This is just for Everett right here. This is we're dedicating this act of athleticism to our guy Everett here.
Here we go.
Well, how many, Casey? How many do you think we can get back and forth before dropping it?
One hand.
Oh, one-handed?
Only one-handed.
One hand.
Ooh, I'm going to say you're going to get 3. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, and
I'm going to drop it?
No, I'm going to drop it.
Well, if I throw it to him, that's 1. He throws it back 2. Oh, I see.
Okay.
On 3, you're going to.
This is a lot of pressure.
Here we go.
This is a lot of pressure. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh, look at that. That was just. Oh, I'm so freaking nervous.
Oh, no.
What the hell was that?
Oh, no.
What was that?
You set him up for failure.
I set him up. I threw it in his chest.
Yeah, you threw
hit him in the chest.
I was trying to. My gosh. Throw it at the hand.
Oh, well, I threw it at your chest. That's
now
where
the ball's
they teach
way
you.
over there.
That's where they teach you to throw it. That's outrageous. That's absolutely outrageous.
Oh, I got 2. That's
Looked
tough.
like Emery Jones throwing balls there. That was terrible. What was that?
Holy moly. That was.
It hit you in the chest. Will you admit that hit you in the chest?
It hit the man boobs, yes.
Okay, so.
It bounced.
Listen, the critics are coming after you now.
Nate says, come on, Kinner. We need a redo. We need a.
No, there's no redo now. It's over now.
It's over?
Yeah.
Lost the moment?
I don't trust you that you can catch. I don't think you can catch.
No.
Again, what part of me screams athlete to you? That was really bad.
I hate to keep calling back to this golf score, but based on your golf scorecard, it didn't look like I didn't have a lot of faith in you catching a ball anyway. But if you want to go do it again, we can do it again. I'm just saying that was miserable.
Oh, look, I queued up I'm
watching the replay.
Now we're seeing you're watching the replay. Oh, hell. Do you have the replay?
I'm watching on my computer. If you go back on your computer, like whatever seconds, dude, it hits you upper chest.
Oh.
It hits you right here.
I'm watching okay, I just threw it. Look, but your catch was so smooth. It was oh no. Oh, yep.
It hits you. I mean, it hits you almost in the neck.
It might have hit both man boobs, to be honest with you.
That was terrible.
Man.
No, Everett, the fumbling of the Votto narrative is the worst fumble.
So we're back to strays again. Nate, in all capital letters, Kinner was just giving a preview of Jerry Jeudy attempting to catch the football this year.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
Man,
right.
More strays to the Cleveland Browns.
They deserve every stray they can get.
What's our time now? Friday show, guys.
7 minutes. 7 minutes. Let me ask you this. So I'm looking at the Bearcats football schedule.
Yeah, what does it look like this year?
Again,
this is probably more brutal than last year, right?
I mean, it's a little bit, but it's not. It's still nothing like too difficult. They play Towson.
Oh, wow.
Win.
That's their first game.
Pittsburgh. Beat
Okay.
them last year. Win.
Okay.
Miami, Ohio.
Go Mac.
That's not an easy one.
The worst part about working these Miami baseball games that we have to broadcast is that the kids in front of me will talk about their great win over the Cincinnati Bearcats in football. Yeah, that's a bad one. I can't argue that one. Houston, that's a good game. Houston will be a good game. Texas Tech will be a good game. UCF, they're okay. Arizona State, I think they were pretty good. Colorado on the road.
Oh, Bearcats at Dion, huh?
At
the Dion Bowl.
The West Virginia.
Loser gets Dion.
That's right. West Virginia, Iowa State, Kansas State, TCU. That's 4 wins. I mean, that's 4 or 5 wins.
Those aren't like Texas and Oklahoma.
No. You're not playing the world's best teams. That's fair. And hopefully Cunningham did that on purpose. I imagine he did. But my point being, if Scott Satterfield can't scrape together, what did he have last year? 4. If he can't scrape together,
if you can't beat Miami,
you need 6 wins. I mean, I hate to say that. The bare minimum is to make those joke bowl games that they give away, the Papa Daddy John whatever bowl. It's whatever bowl they're giving out. The Kansas City, Kansas, Missouri bowl. It's just like, make one of those nonsensical bowls. We'll play on December 1st, and we'll call it a win for a year. If you can't get wins, this is going to look like a bad hire. And by the way, his leash, we talk about Wes Miller for the Bearcats basketball team having a shorter leash than usual. Satterfield's leash is short.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Katrina Merriweather, by the way.
Who?
Katrina Merriweather, the women's basketball coach for Cincinnati.
Really?
Who the hell is that? Put some respect on Katrina Merriweather. She was a coach at Wright State.
They just had a swimsuit edition release, I saw.
Who?
The women's basketball team, Cincinnati.
See, like, that's the thing. No, not going there. We're just going to stick to sports.
Yeah,
We're
that's
just going to
stick
to
to
sports. You know,
sports.
I don't need to
But
go
they did
on
just
a-
have it.
So, interesting.
Listen, it was a
Interesting.
fun time for me. Anyway,
Are you January? Are you July? Or what? You know?
we don't. Well, you can find your own months. I'm not going to do that for you.
So-
it would be a great accomplishment in the history of UC football. It gets invited to the Pop-Tart Bowl. I will take the Pop-Tart Bowl, Everett. You're right about that.
But see, like right now, so Cincinnati, if Dion is not winning football games in Colorado and Cincinnati's not winning football games here, if Dion's not winning football games in Cincinnati, Cincinnati's at least still relevant. Colorado is more relevant around the college football landscape than Cincinnati is. And sometimes you got to count your losses a little bit. And at least, I think Dion at least elevates the status of the program. Like when Dion leaves Colorado, because I do not think it's going to work at Colorado. Let's just be clear.
I don't think it will either.
I think this year, I think the wheels fall off this year. I do. I think that this is a disaster. I think it's going to be a disaster.
This clown show where him and his son are attacking people on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's just, listen, you can do whatever you want in this new age of social media and everything like that. I think that's such a wild move to start attacking former teammates after a 4-win season. I think that's horrible. I think that's a horrible look. I think it's an absolutely abysmal look for a head coach. Horrible on Dion. But listen, to each their own. Yeah, UC with Deion Sanders sure would be more notable. I don't want to transition on your own show here, but we only have like 3 minutes left, so I'm going to do it.
Yep.
The schedule for the Steelers, and maybe it's just because of the AFC North. The AFC North this season is going to be the hardest it's ever been. This is the pinnacle of the AFC North this season. I really do think that. I know people want to write off Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a damn good quarterback. I still firmly believe that. I think the Denver Broncos organization wanted him out as soon as Sean Payton got there. That was a fact, and that was abundantly clear. So I think there wasn't a whole lot of success that he could have had in Denver. He had 2 decent receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. But other than that, I think Russell Wilson has the ability this season to pick up that Hall of Fame career trajectory that he once had. I assume he still has that, in my opinion. Right? He's still a Hall of Famer. You don't think so?
No. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think he's a damn good quarterback, and you combine him with the Steelers' defense of last season. That's a good team. And if that's the team in your cellar, you have a hell of a division on your hands. And looking at the Steelers' schedule, when you have to play 6 divisional opponents in an 8-week stretch to end your season, the other 2 weeks, Eagles, Chiefs, this is going to be the hardest schedule probably for most of these AFC North teams in a long time, just because of the division stuff. And the division's the best it's ever. Will you agree with that, or
Oh,
do
no
you
doubt.
disagree?
Whoever the last place team is probably going to be at least a 9-win team.
Yeah.
We came close last year for the AFC North to be the first division ever to put all 4 teams in the playoffs. And it's if Cincinnati doesn't have that bad game against Kansas, well, it wasn't a terrible game. Well, it got out of hand down the stretch, or at least not able to move the ball down the stretch. But they fumble that game, but they missed the playoffs. Did they miss the playoffs by a game? Did the Bengals miss by a game?
By one game.
And that's your last place team. So it's going to be extra competitive this season. I'm hoping everyone stays healthy. I'm a Browns fan. I do not like when Joe Burrow goes out. I don't like when Jamar Chase is out or T. Higgins is out. I don't like I want everyone healthy when they're out on that field, because then it makes the game more exciting as far as that's concerned. Cleveland's one of those too. Pull up Cincinnati's real quick, the final month of the season schedule for them. Cleveland, and it's May, so I'm not going to do playoff predictions now and all this stuff. But, man, it's going to be tough for me to confidently say Cleveland's making the playoffs, because as we've talked about, the AFC North, the last place team is going to be very, very good, or very competitive. It'll be at least a 9-win team. I think whoever is last in the North is at least a 9-win team. Okay? So with that being said, if everyone's going to be that competitive and you are fighting for a final playoff spot heading into the month of December, we talked about that brutal stretch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. How about the Cleveland Browns in the final month? And now you guys aren't going to feel sorry for them. I'm not asking you to, but I thought theirs was brutal. The Steelers is worse, no doubt. But the Browns have to play all 3 AFC North teams on the road, and they have to play Kansas City. And I know no one fears the Miami Dolphins technically, but when you add the Dolphins into the mix, that's not a guaranteed win either.
No.
So now you have the Dolphins, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, and you have all 3 AFC North teams on the road in the month of December.
Yeah.
If you're fighting for a playoff spot, I can't. It's tough for me to confidently put my money on Cleveland battling it out, whether it be to win the division or get a final wild card spot. That is hell in that month of December.
Our month of December, the Cincinnati Bengals being it's unprofessional on the radio to say our when referring to a team, but I'm going to do it anyway. They play the Steelers at home to start the month. Then it's that 10-day stretch everybody's talking about on Twitter where it's Cowboys on the road, then it's Titans on the road, and then the Browns at home, all within 11 days. Those are 3 decent opponents, and then it's Broncos, a gimme game, and then the Steelers to end the season. So the Bengals, I would say, have an easier schedule towards the end for sure, but it's still it's the NFL, and every game is pretty tough. I was going to ask you about that, but unfortunately we are now out of time. Maybe you can do it on Monday, or maybe you already talked about it.
No, it's Quiplash Day. Can't do it on Monday.
Can't do it on Monday.
Do it on Monday.
But maybe next week you can talk about what your opinion was on the 3 games in 10-day thing that everybody was complaining about.
Steelers have that too. I don't think Cleveland does.
Chiefs have it. Chiefs, Steelers, we do.
So, yeah, that is
Ravens.
that's
a
rough one. So that's what the Sunday, Thursday, Sunday again? No,
Monday.
No, Monday,
Sunday, Thursday.
Monday, Sunday, Thursday. Yeah, not a lot of turnaround time.
Yeah.
So,
But that's it.
good stuff. Hey, everyone, thank you in the chat. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, watching my athletic expertise on full display. I'm a former Harlem Globetrotter, by the way.
Yeah.
I am athletic, by the way.
I think you're that other team they play. They
I am
lose all the
athletic.
time.
No. I was wearing the butter. Because I'm chubby. I look like Butterbean out there in the red, white, and blue shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Next time I'm in studio, we'll pull up the video.
Yeah.
We'll pull up the video. But we're out of time. Casey, you the man. Appreciate you. Elliot, appreciate you guys as always. Everyone have a great weekend. The Kinner and Kev Show will be back on Monday at 3 o'clock. Until next week, it's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 Wing AM, and Chatterbox Sports on YouTube.
Dude, they want 1 game of Quiplash, Casey.
What's up?
They want 1 game of Quiplash.
Okay. 1 game of Quiplash.
So what we're going to do...
Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live. So what we're going to do is... We're going to make another stream, or are we going to just do it on here?
I don't know.
Think?
Can we get some... So we got Nate, Blackmore, Mark. That's 3. We have me, Casey, Justin. That's 6. Do we have 2, or do we want to just use the people in here? Maybe Everett can play, but I don't want to put this on a public stream. We'd have to delete the stream immediately after if we let the public play.
All right, I'm gonna make. It has to be members only.
Yeah, we'll try it. We'll try it with members only. If we can get members, if you're there, we're gonna try a stream. If we have enough for Quiplash, we will play 1 game of Quiplash. If we do not, we will not.
The members only stream is up at the moment. So
if you are a member, go on our YouTube channel, click the thing, and join that chat. And if we get enough, I think the number is 8, Casey, is that right?
Yep, that's 8 for a full game.
So we need 8. We already have 3. We just need 5 members in there. If we can get 5 members, that's what we need. And again, we can't do it for the regular folk only because of the words that are used on the show. So go there. Casey, let me know if you have any on the member side.
I have Nate in there at the moment. I'm sure Mark will be in there.
If we have 5 people respond in the members chat, we will do a Quiplash game. If we do not, we cannot, obviously, because we don't have the people to play.
I would refresh.
Refresh
Mark.
your thing.
If you're looking for it, refresh the page. Should be there. For members.
I'm looking at more Scotty memes. I mean, it's just the funniest thing of all time.
Quickly people come out. My friends were in a group chat. They were sending them back to back to back earlier. I couldn't read all of them.
I've got a couple I want to show you, but I can't do it on the air.
That's what I was kind of alluding to. Was that like?
I mean, it's the funniest thing of all time. Not up, says Blackmore.
It is. It is up. We got 2 people in there.
2 people are in there. I don't think we're going to be able to get. Nate's in the chat. We see you. We haven't seen anybody else in that chat. We're going to give this about 3 more minutes, guys. 3 more minutes.
Has Kenner met the lawnmower man? Who's the lawnmower man?
The lawnmower man is a guy who walks around the streets of Hamilton with a lawnmower, and it's never on, but he's walking it around the sidewalks. And it's the funniest.
Got to keep those sidewalks mowed.
Yeah, it's Tom Brenneman's favorite bit that we have. Because whenever he comes in here, he likes to punch down on Hamilton a little bit with me. Me and Tom are just the Hamilton haters, and we'll see this guy walking past like a school, fully cement, not a strain of grass in sight, and this guy's trying to cut the lawn.
How good is Tom, by the way?
How good is Tom? What?
Working with him the last couple of days. That was cool.
It was very cool.
Just sitting back. I mean,
well,
and then when he casually just drops, and then his son just beats on him for being old. I'm just like dying at that. Like it's always Tom did. I mean, of course he did great, but like that was cool.
By the way, Reds, Adam. Yeah, Tom working with Tom. Like when I'm 20 years away from now and I'm selling insurance, probably when my dream's dead, I'm gonna look back at the time here and think that I worked with one of the greatest broadcasters of our time.
Well, and he would just casually just drop into these stories like that are just the Joe Torre one.
Yeah.
Like those are just normal happenings in his life that he's just dropping on us that we're all like, yeah, of course, Joe Torre. Yeah, we talked to him too. Like, yeah.
Have you seen some of his merch he brought us over there, or some of his collection?
Oh no, that's all his stuff.
Oh yeah, so like those are balls. We've got a Hank Aaron ball over there. We've got like custom National League All-Star balls signed from the whole team in like 1990 or 1999, whenever it was. We have 2 jerseys there. It's just I forget which manager. Is that Lou? Who signed that jersey?
That is gosh,
I don't know either. I
it's
wish
Tom
I knew.
Lasorda.
Lasorda, yeah, Tommy Lasorda.
That's the picture on the bottom left. I'm like squinting, like thinking I'm going to see the
Tommy
picture.
Lasorda. Do we have anybody in there besides?
We have Nate, Blackmore, Justin, Mark.
Okay, we can try it. Let's try it. Let's try Quiplash with 7. We're ending this stream. We're going to end it, and then we're going to go straight to the Quiplash one. We're going to have Justin play if he's able to, and we'll see what we can do here.
All right.
End it. Bye-bye.